Hi everyone, welcome to the weekly bump. Thank you guys so much for being here. And I just logged into my YouTube account for the first time in like a week, and I cannot tell you how grateful I am for all of your beautiful comments on that little spiel that I had last week. I feel so honored to have a group of people that, like, it's my weekly bump people, right? Like that's my tribe, I guess you could call it, right? Those are my group of people that I feel like I really connect with. So thank you so much for being here with me week after week. So I know I always kind of like am changing my format, and last week I really liked kind of going off, stepping away from the cards, stepping away from astrology, and just kind of looking at the global perspective. And then this morning I woke up and I had this I wasn't awake. I had this very lucid communication, if you will, that was like, you need to understand the dimensionality of a decision. And then somehow there was a connection with casual sex. It was like an immediate, like, here's an idea, here's a concept that just kind of came to me, right? So when I woke up, I went to a coffee shop like right next door, and I sat down. I was like typing all my ideas. So that's kind of what we'll get into, but let's do the cards first, and then cards with astrology, and then we'll move into that other kind of stuff, okay? So really what's been happening has been a huge amount of water stuff, right? We have Jupiter in Scorpio, Neptune in Pisces, trining with Venus in Cancer. Venus has been in direct opposition the past several days with Pluto. It's coming off of that opposition now. So the intensity of a lot of that stuff is starting to fade. But the water stuff really kind of wears us down. It kind of really brings it internal. I think a lot of us I've been doing some pretty deep meditations. Now is a wonderful time to do meditations as we have the moon coming into conjunction with Neptune. Oh, and here we go. Card that popped out was the Two of Cups. Now is a really good time to reestablish order in our lives. Now is a really good time for us to even things out. And if there was any upheaval, because the water stuff can get really tricky, especially when Neptune's at play, right? Because Neptune can cause us to make some bad decisions. It can cause us to be deceived. And I remember there was a little bit of a shadiness coming out in the cards last week. Hopefully for some of you guys that didn't manifest at all. For me, nothing. But I do know some friends that were like, oh man, I shouldn't have done that. I shouldn't have believed that person. I can't believe that that kind of like face palm emoji kind of thing. It's over, it's fine, you survived, it's not a big deal. So now is a good time to reestablish order. Now is a good time to reestablish your connections with people as well. Open up the lines of communication. Again, with all that water, it's just like it's all so much in the feels. And there's nothing wrong with that. That has a purpose, that has a place. But sometimes it's like it needs to come out of the box a little bit and help us to feel more interconnected with people, right? And I feel like some of you are going to be reconnecting with friends, opening lines of communications with that special someone, perhaps. Some of you will be just internalizing this sense of order, right? Coming in a greater, okay, like let's stop being so overweighted in one side of the scale, right? Let's get back to that balance. See what else comes out here. Nine of Swords and the Ten of Coins. Nine of Swords is pretty heavy, and it can be very watery as well. Even though water is like emotions and air is the thoughts, I think with all the Gemini quality, we're thinking a lot about the way we're feeling. We're thinking a lot about what just occurred, what just transcended, or what just transpired, excuse me. And it can be like super harsh sometimes, and we can be really hard on ourselves as well. It can bring us to a point of a great deal of stress. It can bring us to a point of worry and anxiety. We could be worried about someone else as well. The fact that we have the 10 of coins, and your back is turned to the 10 of coins here, just the way I happen to like intuitively pull the cards out. You know, it's of course material is online because of Uranus and Taurus. We have all the Capricorn stuff going on now too, and you know, it's that deep connection with what material really brings us, what structure really brings us. With Pluto and Saturn both in Capricorn going retrograde, we are certainly analyzing the role on a global scale, right? The role of governments, the role of the higher powers that be, the role of our jobs, the role of our money, the role of our financial institutions as well. And on an individual scale, it's like, what do those things really mean to me? What do I really believe? What do I really feel is necessary for me in my life? Somehow we seem to be turning our back on like we are, because of Uranus and Taurus, we are in that feeling uncomfortable place. And it's almost as though there's probably a draw toward comfort. But at the same time, we know that if we revert back to what's comfortable and what's familiar, then that means that progress hasn't been made. And again, we have Mars and the Mars and the South Node in Aquarius conjunct today as well. Or almost conjunct. It's almost an exact conjunction. I think it's like a degree off right now. So over the next couple of days, that whole like progress check that I've been talking about is really prominent, right? And some of us might make mistakes, and some of us might revert back to what's comfortable and what's familiar, even though we know that that's really not in our best interest. And the thing is that you really have to be careful with how hard you are on yourself. How much you put yourself down, how much you berate yourself, or even how much you get mad at someone else for doing something to you, because of the Venus-Pluto opposition right now, right? Venus is like the mirror, right? The mirror, Libra, me and you and me. Two opposite sides of the scale, but each side of the scale is the same. Each of these is the cups, right? Both the same. So if we're dealing with someone, it's very, very likely that our own inner whatever is going on, whether it's an insecurity, whether it's a fear, whatever, is then being reflected back to us by the behavior of someone else, right? Like if we... I was about to tell you about a friend, but she might be watching this, so I'm not going to say it. But yeah, so like if we reverted backwards and made a mistake, or feeling tempted to revert backwards and make a mistake simply because it's comfortable, 10 of Swords, it's over. Let it go. I was watching a beautiful, like, you know how I follow a lot of inspirational stuff on YouTube, and I wish that I could credit the right person, but I'm sorry, I can't pull that off the top of my head. I didn't save it or anything. But there was this beautiful video of a priest, or some kind of a minister that had that, like the black with the white thing. And she was talking about forgiveness and how forgiving people that wronged you is actually a confirmation of your fidelity with the higher eternal order. Your commitment to the higher eternal order, and forgiveness of yourself is just as much included in that as forgiveness toward another person. And so with that deep, dark, depth, soul-like quality of Pluto, with the hand mirror of Venus, like here, look at yourself in the mirror, you know, that's kind of the essence of what's at play. It's over. Done. You've already done it. You've already gone through it. You've already been there. The water qualities can be very exhaustive. They can be exhausting. You know, have so much emotion, so much energy geared towards the way that something makes you feel, geared toward the way someone makes you feel. And it can be earth-shattering at times if you realize that you backtracked. It can be earth-shattering to realize that you had made so much progress and then you just reverted backwards, and that maybe you weren't as in control as you thought. Now, like I said, I don't remember if I said this or not, but there's like two sort of manifestations of this grand trine that occurred this week. People that went through that, all the stuff that I was talking about, the stuff that's being reflected in the cards. And then there's the people that use that energy for deep meditations and use that energy to connect with their starseed origins or their Akashic records, or they came in contact with their guides, or whatever, astral projections, whatever it was that your goal is, or whatever it is you were trying to do. That is a much more mature usage of the energies at play. But I could see the parallels between the two. One, you're seeking information about yourself through the eyes of another. And same thing with meditation, seeking more information about yourself through the eyes of the higher universal order. And so just depends on where you are on the scale. So it's important for you to really, really analyze where you think you lay on the scale. Where do you think on that slider, right? Because it's just two poles and it's the same. It's like hot and cold. They're the same thing. They're both temperature. So it just depends on where you are. And that's what this Mars and South Node is going to be really, really healthy for, is to gauge where you are. And there's going to be a level of brutal honesty with yourself too. You can't afford not to be brutally honest with yourself. I'm sorry. You can't afford it. There's a lot at stake here when we're talking about, and I'm going to talk about this in the philosophical portion, talking about the dimensionality of decisions and also linking it with casual sex. That's just going to be one kind of example, the way that sort of manifests. But you know, you're going to have to take that example that I'm giving you and really open it up to the implications that go so much deeper and so, I mean, it's infinite, right? Let's see what else comes out here. When we're talking about the harvest of souls and moving into the fourth dimension and really growing and raising our vibrations and feeling that pressure to raise your vibrations, because if you don't, you're kind of destined to continue back, and you're destined to kind of continue with this pendulum until you figure it out. So you can figure it out now, or you can figure it out later. You know, there's no judgment in the realm of progression. There's no judgment in the realm of ascension. But what do you want to do? I'll tell you, I'm pretty excited about the fourth dimension. I really hope I can like qualify, if you will. I really think that, you know, an understanding of true love and true compassion, like that's, again, I could get into my whole starseed thing. But I think I'll bring it just to the astrology level. And justice. Let's talk about this for a minute, but if I bring it back to the astrology level, Libra, which I often, here we have two cards that are very Libran in nature. The Libran quality, you know, Libra doesn't get enough credit for the higher level manifestation of what Libra actually is. It's like human rights. Human rights. It's like, that's Aquarius quality, but I think Aquarius is a little bit more grander scale than that. But Libra is like, you better treat people well. You know, you better treat people good. You better be moral. That's the higher manifestation of Libra, and that's coming online here. What's moral? What's good? How do you treat one another? Do unto others as you would have done unto you, right? That's the golden rule. That's very Libran in nature. It's even symmetrical almost in sentence structure. You know, it's got the balance there. So coming in line with the higher order, your fidelity, your monogamous relationship, your loyal relationship with higher consciousness. Were you cheating on your consciousness? Were you cheating on your progress? This is karmic as well. This also comes back to bite you in the ass real quick. Karma is being pushed out a lot faster, I think, because of this sort of like pressure as we're entering into this new kind of dimension of the galaxy, right? That the story is that our solar system is progressing into a part of the galaxy that has an intense amount of energy, so much more than the human race has really experienced in, you know, past several thousands of years, or for the entire existence of mankind, essentially. And it's so intense, right? That we might not really be able to really handle it. And so people are kind of going crazy, but it's also a testament. It's a testament to our commitment. And people that are in the dark are going to get darker and darker. People that are in the light are going to get lighter and lighter. It's how you manifest the intensity of the energy. It's how well you can remain conscious and how well you can remain loyal to your own progress as well, without falling prey to the immediate satisfactions of this world. It's not light kind of stuff, guys. It's not easy. It's not light. There's serious pressure out there. There's serious pressure for us to live our highest quality life. There's serious pressure for us to live a life of compassion, forgiveness, and love. And if we turn our back on that, if we give up on that for even just 1 second, what are the cosmic implications for that? Whoa. Devil. 9 of Wands, Page of Swords, 9 of Coins. See, this is someone who is monogamous to her commitment. That doesn't make sense. who is loyal, or who is being honest with her intentions of this life. She may have material qualities, sure, but this is a card of the energy of Virgo. The energy of Virgo is one of service and one that gives. She's not selfish. She may have a lot, but she's not selfish. And whenever someone needs, she gives. And it is because of her giving spirit that she continues to receive. She's someone who understands the cyclical nature of the universe, who understands the law of compensation. What goes out must come in. For every action, there is an opposite and equal reaction, and who lives and abides by those kinds of words of science and uses that and has faith in that. And she's not afraid. She's not afraid at all. And that's an energy that we need to have. She's someone who's in contact with her own duality and in many ways has risen above. Okay? It is an important time for us to be protective, because there are forces out there. Like, let's not lie. Let's not sugarcoat this. There are dark and evil forces out there in our world today. There's governments, there's master psychologists, there's Illuminati, you know, whatever you want to believe. Like, there's much higher things at play. And now is a chance for the human race to really break free, right? Devil reverse, to break free from the chains that truly bind them. Whether we take that chance or not seems unlikely, but, you know, we have to always remain as positive and do our job so that people can see the light, so that they can see. You know, when I go into the philosophy section of this reading too, to understand the undercurrents at play at all times, to truly separate ourselves from the Maya. I had this, and it's kind of like this. I had this kind of vision the other day, and I shared it with a friend of mine. I was like, I feel, and a lot of you are going to feel the same way. You're going to be like, oh my God, I feel the exact same thing. It's not just me. I'm not special. It's so many people out there today. It's like, I feel like I'm at an aquarium and I'm looking at this huge, you know, one of those things where it's like a tunnel of fish, right? And you can go and you put your hands on the glass and you see all the fish just swimming around and doing their thing. But it's like you're looking in on the world. The fish represent all the people just like swimming around doing their normal human thing and not thinking twice about anything, you know, the walking zombies, if you will. And you're like banging on the glass like, wake up. You guys need to realize what's going on. You need to see the big picture. You need to have all this information. You need to educate yourself. In today's day and age, there is no excuse for anyone to not be educated about what's going on, right? In the realm of spirituality, in the realm of governments, and understanding the role of war, and understanding the role of the Federal Reserve, and understanding all these like big sort of conspiracy theory type things, but really using your mind to connect the dots, right? Page of Swords, to connect the dots so that you can in fact liberate yourself. And here we have a card of liberation. In a weird way, this is a card of liberation when it's reversed, guys. Breaking free from karma, which is totally possible, 100%. Totally breaking free from our prison, right? Don't those swords look like the bars of an old-fashioned prison cell? I think they do. The energetic implications are huge. The psychological undercurrents are huge. And it's so important for us to really understand how they are being used. And I think that Pluto-Venus opposition really, really forced us to really look at that in many ways. I think a lot of you came in contact with an understanding, or a higher understanding if you already understood during your meditations this week, of like how this is all like going down, right? How this is all occurring and how this is all even possible. The Sun and Mercury conjunction in Gemini, it is causing a lot of illumination to occur as well, being in a square with Neptune, and the Moon conjunction in Pisces. You know, we have this direct line and an ability to interpret our imagination, an ability to interpret our psychic visions, or our inspirational visions, if you will, and interpret those in a way that we can understand them. And it's going to be even more important for us to interpret them in a way that other people can understand them as well. Hopefully I'm going to be interpreting my own little lucid dream that I had this morning in a way that you can understand. I really, really hope I do. Big stuff. I'm feeling a little uneasy. I don't quite know why. It's been that way for a while. Maybe Uranus is still just kind of getting settled. Chiron is definitely getting settled in Aries. Jupiter going retrograde in Scorpio has been a lot deeper than I was really expecting. It's come in contact with my natal moon. It's kind of like going back and forth over my natal moon at 16 degrees Scorpio. And so there's definitely a resurfacing of a lot of memories, past life memories for me personally. That's just me. So it's been transformative. Of course, Scorpio, it's transformative, right? Okay, that's enough of that. I have notes, so I'm going to reference my notes during this whole thing. Again, I am nervous. Again, I want you guys to know that I'm not really taking a stance for or against casual sex, by the way. That's not what this is. But it is about really understanding the energy behind something, that type of decision, right? The decision to be casually, energetically intimate with someone, and how it really continues. So my little vision or dream or whatever it was started off with, you need to understand the dimensions of a decision. And so I woke up and I was like, what the heck does that even mean? And I was like, what is a decision? Okay, it's a moment, it's an event, something that happens. And what builds up to that we would call the cause, and what happens after that we would call the effects. So there's like a linear quality to a decision. Because of this, we do this, and because of this, this happens. Seems very logical, right? But I'm like, well, what does it mean, the dimensions then? Because that seems pretty straightforward. And I grabbed my computer and I went to the coffee shop. I grabbed a cappuccino and I just opened up I use OneNote. I opened up OneNote and I just was like sitting there with my hands on the keys. I'm like, what am I supposed to do? So I just start typing, and the first thing that comes out is a comparison between our third dimension, length, width, and depth. Our third dimension with the fourth dimension, which is length, width, depth, and time. it's hard for people of the third dimension to really wrap their head around what the fourth dimension is or how we would ever experience that, because we simply don't have that capability, right? But I think higher level, more mathematically based minds, they get it, right? They understand what it is. And what it is what I haven't done too much research, so excuse me on this for those of you who might know a lot more than I do, or please share in the comments, because the way I understand it is we would see, like if I looked at a person, I would still see length, width, and depth, but I would also see their time, their lifetime in this world. I would see the beginning of their life and their death at this all at once, and their whole life would be like this snake. And there wouldn't be any perception of what comes before something else. Like that doesn't exist. It just is all happening in one single moment kind of thing. So like, how is this related to this idea of the dimensionality of a decision, right? So I'm going to come back to that. Let's move into the example of casual sex. And the reason why I think that, it's not about the sex itself, by the way. This was something that was really highlighted for me with my most recent trip to Miami. My Miami trip was transformative for me because I've been there several times before. I love South Beach. I love Miami. I love the vibe. But I experienced it in such a completely different way. And I was there alone a lot. So I was walking around alone and going to the beach alone and stuff like that. So I had a lot of time to really just feel stuff out. I don't want you to think I'm stroking my own ego when I'm doing this, especially not with the conversation that I had last week. This trip was when I really came in contact with the analysis of my ego, what that really means and what role it really has to play. Of course, we need a healthy ego, because an ego is what's needed for me to stand up here and communicate certain things and to feel like what I have to say and what I think is worthy enough for people to really hear, right? But there also needs to remain a level of humility, and I totally understand that. So just feel me out on this. Just roll with me on this one. Okay, so I'm walking down Miami, walking down Collins or Ocean Avenue, whatever. And I cannot tell you the amount of negative attention that I was receiving. The extent that men would go through to make a point that they knew that I saw them was off the charts. And it was so much, and that's all kind of always been the case. I have my Venus in Leo, and I have a moon in Scorpio and a lot of Scorpio in my chart. Pluto, Saturn, moon, and my South Node in Scorpio in the second house. I'm mostly Scorpio, mostly Scorpio and Virgo, okay? So I have this energy about me that I'm only really just kind of understanding. People that have a Scorpio moon will also likely understand what this means, or maybe even a moon in Leo as well, or a Venus in Leo like I do. When you walk into a room with this kind of energy and people don't look at you, you feel like there's a problem. And you feel like, is there something on my face, right? Like, what's wrong? Why aren't people looking at me? Because you're so used to people looking at you, because you just have this presence about you. And, I have to, again, here's the ego thing, right? I'm not the most beautiful woman in the world, but I'm also not the worst looking either. I'm 5'11", I'm thin, I wear heels a lot. So I'm like 6'1", 6'2", a lot of the times. So I know that that's a part of it as well. But even when I'm just wearing my ugly t-shirt, my shorts, and my chucks, same thing. Like, it doesn't really make a difference. So I understand that there's an energy about me, and that a lot of other women and also men have as well. There's a magnetism. So, but I used to, in the past, enjoy that. I used to like, oh, people are looking at me, I got it, you know. And again, as a Scorpio, I do naturally feel more comfortable showing skin. I don't know if you guys know that about Scorpio, especially second house Scorpios, but like they just feel naturally showing skin. It feels a lot better, more comfortable for them because they are, you know, the sign of sex and skin and the body and all that kind of makes sense, right? And so I always kind of enjoyed that in the past, before like the past few years, you know. And when you understand Venus, you know, Venus as being the goddess of beauty, the goddess of love, and she was a mistress, and she did enjoy the arousal of sexuality in men, and that was her power, right? That is a female power, their ability to arouse sexuality in men. And so it's that balancing act between being a beautiful, self-confident woman, and being proud of that as well. And same thing with men, like being a strong, confident, attractive man and being proud of that and knowing what you have to offer. That's a big part of who we are as human beings. So there's no shame, or there shouldn't be any shame in that at all. But I will tell you that for the first time I felt like it was attracting a lot of negativity because I could feel these projections. This is what I wrote. All these guys trying to get laid, I could feel their projections of inferiority, emotional unavailability, either a lack of self-love or perhaps even a very high level of self-love, but in the very egoic sense. Even men who had these beautiful women standing right next to them would still gawk at you. And being more in tune with energy now, like understanding what it is and understanding the energetic repercussions, I felt incredibly violated. And so on the one hand, you enjoy it because you're a woman and because you feel beautiful and people are appreciating what you look like. And on the other hand, you're like, holy cow, this is absolutely the wrong kind of attention, right? Like completely backwards from what it used to be. And coming into an understanding of what that was. It was like, I wrote this, a projection of domination and prowess. I couldn't even believe what some men would do. Like, here I am, okay, this is me walking down the street, right? And here's a car kind of coming alongside of me. And this happened multiple times, it wasn't just one. They would like lean over the passenger side of the car to like wave, or they would honk, or they'd roll down the window and try to talk. Like, what is a girl supposed to do with that? And you know, this is normal. You know, unfortunately this is like a normal thing, especially in some of the bigger cities. I think in different parts of the world, of course, it will vary. It's not all over the world, you know. But even here in Belgrade, it's very, very similar. In Bali, like, oh my gosh, like it was insane there. Like casual sex was so huge of a thing. And so this was the kind of a turning point experience. Let me explain this one to you. So I was in this very quiet portion of Miami, one part of on South Beach, I'm sorry, not Miami, in Miami Beach. And it was like 8th and Collins. There's like a nice little vegan restaurant on the corner there. And I was just kind of chilling. There was nothing going on the street. It was like a Tuesday afternoon. Like no one was out. Everyone was at the beach or at work or whatever. And these two guys pulled up in a cab kind of right by the restaurant. I was on the patio. And they both got out. And they were just kind of looking around. And I was looking at them because they were, you know, just the only thing to really look at. And I made eye contact with one of them. So I smiled, you know, like, hey, whatever. And he goes like this. So this is what he did. Watch. And he gave me like this grotesque nod of approval. And I know you might be sitting there being like, oh, get over yourself, like whatever. But the energetic connection that happened, like we were connected. You know, eye contact, we connected. And at that moment, when you make eye contact with someone and you can feel that, like the acknowledgement of each other's presence, that's an energetic connection. And what was being transmitted through that energetic connection was his approval of me, as though I needed it or as though I wanted it, or as though that was something that I was seeking. It was very much unwelcome. And the minute that it happened, I was like, and I looked down, I'm like, oh my God, I have to break this thing, because I used to, when I was young and stupid, you know, you'd be like, oh, that cute guy just looked at me, like, oh, you know, you get all excited about it. And now, with knowing what I know about what was being transferred, like, I felt all that stuff, the emotional insecurity, the running around South Beach trying to validate myself and trying to prove that I'm a man or whatever it was. Like, I just absorbed it, right? So I kind of like had to put it down real quick. I was so desperate, you know? Now, when I was in Miami, I met two friends. One was like an Italian guy. He lives between Monaco and Miami and like everywhere else in the world. And then another friend is Colombian, and he moved to Fort Lauderdale. So he came down to South Beach for a couple days to hang out and chill out. He's like my brother, right? He's a super awesome, kick-ass guy. And he took me to North Beach, and we went to some hotel, and we were outside looking at the water, and he saw this really beautiful, like, no, please, like such a beautiful girl sitting by the pool. And I noticed him looking. I'm like, okay, fine, that's totally his thing. Like, we're not dating. There's no connection with us. So like, that's fine. If he wants to, that's fine. And then I like realized that he was staring at her for like this ungodly amount of time. And I was like waiting. I'm like, for real? Like, are you still looking at her? And so I eventually like smacked him to kind of break him out of this trance. And I said, like, do you have any idea what you're doing right now? That what you are contributing to her life right now, and how you are projecting all of your emotional whatever onto her, and that she is energetically absorbing that? Like, do you understand that the mind is reality, and all the sexual fantasy that just went through your mind right now was not welcome? You know, and that's a problem, right? Like, we think that if we fantasize about someone, especially sexually, you know, in our imaginations, it's not hurting anyone, it's private, it's within our own, it's our own business, it's no one else's business. But couldn't be farther from the truth. You know, even if you have even just a basic understanding of what energy even is, and how we permeate energy, and how we are connected as we are in this oneness, that concept just goes flying out the window. Like, no, like, you're not allowed to do that. You don't have permission to do that. And that is an energetic violation, right? I mean, if they were dating and it was fine and they loved each other or whatever, then like, yeah, okay, that's fine. What else do I have here? So I'm just giving you little instances. I have a few more little things. So at this point, I found myself alone again, and I just actually started paying more attention to the women. I was like, okay, I get the men, I get that vibe. So let's think of how the women are doing to contribute this as well. Because it's not just the guys. Like, there's no blame here. It's on both sides. So I started looking at the girls, and they're so young and naive, and they're from all over the world, and they're coming to South Beach to have a good time, meet up with friends, bachelorette parties, just going to have fun, you know? It's nighttime, Ocean Avenue, whatever. They're doing their thing. I'm from Vegas. I get it. I've been there. And they were so like doe-eyed and optimistic of just meeting some fun guys, most likely, or, you know, and I'm not saying it's everybody, you know, but I suspect that a very large percentage of those girls, I can't begin to tell you what percentage, not everybody again, but a large percentage of them have been conditioned, you know, and so psychologically they're operating from a place of wanting love. They want a boyfriend, and they want a guy to marry them. And they want a guy to have babies with, and they want a guy who will love them and appreciate them and treat them well. You know, they all want respect, right? In general, and not to say that all girls are well behaved, because of course that's definitely not the case, but that's how we've really been conditioned to think and to feel. So here we have this huge percentage of women who kind of are coming from that place of wanting a soulmate. Let's say that. They want a soulmate. And these women are going out and they're meeting guys who are just as nice, you know, they're just as naive as well, who have also been conditioned from a place of like, oh yeah, you scored, like you, awesome, high five, congratulations, you got a girl to sleep with you, yeah. It's like this condition of winning, this condition of like, of scoring, like in sports. If you score enough, you win, and there's a level of respect that comes with that, versus with women, there's a level of disrespect, right? But men get respect. So here you have men kind of coming from that place. And so they come together, and let's say that they're in Miami for like a weekend or a few days, and they kind of have this agreement, like it's just fun, let's just have fun together, and fine. What's the harm in that? Maybe they even talk about it. When we go home, it's like what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. What happens in Miami stays in Miami, kind of thing. Maybe it's something like that. So they go, they have a fun time. Again, they sleep together. They're in a hotel room. They're enjoying each other's company. And then when it's time to go home, they go home. And it seems so harmless. And it seems like here we're two mature people that decided to make a decision, and they talked about it, and it was fine. Like from the outside, and I think a logical person would be like, yeah, that's fine. Like no one's responsible. What is Jane even talking about right now? Because it's not even, it doesn't hurt anything. But here's where I have a problem with it. And this has been something that, again, since Miami, obviously, I'm talking about it, that's really been bothering me. Okay, and this is where the dimensionality of the decision really comes from. Because here we have cause, event, effect, what I've just described. So what's that other dimension? What's that other kind of reality that's existing that we don't tend to really factor into a decision? Here it is. So what's the harm? The harm for the girl is that even though she may have agreed to a week of fun, she gave permission, all right, and she was available for that, and there's fine. She still subconsciously is still wanting a man to love her. So here she's put herself, she's responsible for this, she's put herself in a situation where now her head and her heart are in two very different places. And yes, maybe that desire for a soulmate and the desire for love is a social condition, or she's a product of her social conditioning. Maybe. But the fact of the matter is that's still something that she does feel that she wants. She hasn't broken free from that yet. And so she's done herself a very significant disservice by alienating a part of herself and putting her in two different directions, because now she goes home and she's now officially confirmed energetically to the universe that she is available for casual encounters, she's available for a fling, she's available for fun, she's available for certain other things, right? And in her mind, she's like, maybe she liked him, but yeah, he's not special, and I wasn't special to him either, it was just fun. And now she's confirming that she's not special, and she's confirming that he's not special either. I'm not special, he's not special, not special, not special, not special. And that is in direct conflict with her heart that's like, no, I want to be special. So she's acting in her own duality. Now she's experiencing the darkness of her own duality, right? And in a way, you know, she's doing that both towards herself and also toward the guy, this projection of not being special. And that's a very, very dangerous projection, right? And then for the guy, you know, and again, there's all different variations of this. I'm just going with one kind of way. But, you know, he's confirmed that he can have just fun with a girl, right? He's so sure of himself that it's okay because she's an adult. She agreed. He didn't do anything wrong. Did he really? No. I think all of us would be like, no, he didn't do anything wrong. But when you look at it, you know, energetically, maybe they both did, you know. It was confirmed to him that, you know, that girls like this do exist, that girls are willing to just have a good time, and girls are willing to act against that wanting a husband, that wanting a boyfriend, that wanting a soulmate, that wanting a guy to reproduce with. And I think subconsciously he knows that, I think all guys know that. I think all women know that too. And I think everyone knows that that's like a social condition, right? And yet we're still acting against it. And he too is saying she wasn't special, she wasn't special, she wasn't special. And so here, this girl, this guy, they're getting a double whammy of I'm not special. And, or maybe even perhaps worse, on the even more negative manifestation of this, he's confirmed to himself that he is so special that he can expect this from anyone. And then he becomes a part of that sort of player kind of quality, right? That sort of player vibe. A lot of this subconscious programming, again, is not anyone's fault. We're all products of this social conditioning. Like I said before, it's a product of the global culture. But it doesn't take away the fact that that's still something that they feel they genuinely want, especially the girl. You know, with a girl going from Disney movies to romantic comedies to sitting in a coffee shop, Sex and the City style, and talking about boyfriends all the time. You know, like, I cannot tell you how tired I am of people talking about their freaking boyfriends. Like, I'm so sick of it. But I get it. Because we're told that that's what's supposed to be important. You know, that's what we're taught. And not a lot of people have the even knowledge that they can break free from that, you know, and that's a problem of society as well. Of course, the higher ups don't want us to do that, of course. But yeah, so I mean, again, like I said, if those subconscious and societal drivers didn't exist, then this wouldn't even be a problem. Then we wouldn't even be having this conversation. You remember that book, Brave New World? I think I read it back in high school. I don't really remember. But it was like in the beginning, there was this couple, and they weren't really dating anyone else, or they weren't really wanting to date anyone else. But this was a global culture where if you were monogamous, that was a problem. That wasn't what you were supposed to want. That was the weird kind of thing, and that was the social condition, was you're not supposed to be monogamous. So it's kind of like taking the opposite and really understanding that. And so the implications of that kind of decision, right? And that's the extra dimension of that decision, that decision to be casually intimate with someone, merging your energy with someone that is projecting that you're not special, and you're projecting back that they're not special, and it's just reaffirming and confirming over and over and over again. And you can see these problems manifesting all over the world, right? You know, men and women aren't getting married, especially in America, until later and later and later. And even reproducing at a lower and lower rate. If you watch it, in Japan, like the reproduction rate is low, right? Like people aren't even wanting to have sex. If you've researched the kind of social experimentation that's going on with sexuality in Japan, like holy cow, that stuff is insane. How they're culturally engineering an society to not really want sex. The numbers on that are staggering, but it's like, how, I don't even know why I went on that little rant. But yeah, and I think that's the unforeseen dimension there. Now I'm just repeating myself over and over like I always end up doing. But just something to really keep in mind. And you can carry this one little teeny tiny example over into any and all areas of your life. And, you know, even just like I said last week, coming into a grocery store and smiling, or giving someone kind of a shitty face, you know, when you walk to a grocery store, and how that permeates throughout the universe, because our energetic fields are not just so close by. I mean, they are just as infinite as the rest of the universe is infinite as well. So I'm always worried if I make sense, especially with this moon Neptune squaring Mercury Sun. I really hope it made sense. And I hope that, you know, my whole main goal of this, you guys, is to simply get people to think on a day-to-day basis, and to be more mindful of where they're coming from and where other people are coming from too, and to realize that a decision to integrate your energy with someone else is not just the decision to have sex or to be sitting next to someone or go to coffee with someone. It's so much greater than that. And therein lies the oneness of the universe, right? Therein lies the oneness and the unity, our shared energy. Okay, now I've rambled on for like a whole hour. I think this is my longest weekly bump ever, but I had to get this out. I don't know why. Hopefully it affects one person, just one person, and I'm happy. So I guys, I wish you nothing but the best, and I will see you next month. All right, thanks. Bye.